obviously don't go and do that.
Now, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't. Live!
It's live!
And we're clear on the floor.
All right, hey, that was fun.
You're a
Yeah. Hi, she knew my nickname. Howdy, folks. This is Ted Lasso, your favorite optimistic American football coach turned English football coach. And welcome to the Richmond Way, a Ted Lasso Rewatch podcast. So grab your biscuits, put on your AFC Richmond scarf, and let's embark on this journey together.
Ooh-wee! We are here, my friends. This is the Ted Lasso podcast, the Richmond Way. I am Vactor. I am the host of the Vactorverse podcast, but I'm here to introduce you to a new podcast. Like I said, a Ted Lasso podcast. We have some wonderful guests today. We have some wonderful hosts, and we're going to talk all about why, where, who, what, where, when, and why of the Richmond Way. Let's go through, my friends, and talk all about why we are here today. First off, we got to go with the most Michaeliest of Michaels, Mr. Michael Sawran. How you doing today, sir?
Well, I am here today because when a man loves a woman, and they
that's too far. That's too far back.
Too far back. Well, I'm here today
because I thought you were about to sing.
No.
Sing.
You want to keep subscribers up? You don't want me to sing. I'll just remove myself.
Oh,
No,
man.
don't do that.
Bye.
No, I'm here because I felt like I do the Hold On Maneuver podcast with Mark, and in the off-screen time, Mark would be sending me messages with all these different memes and gifs of Ted Lasso. And I'm like, I haven't watched that show. No idea what he's talking about. And then we start getting these guests on the show who are Ted Lasso podcasters trying to talk about Ted Lasso and Star Wars references. And I'm like, I can get half of that. I don't know what's going on. So finally, Mark broke me down and I watched Ted Lasso. And now I've watched it more than him.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. Speaking of Mark, Mr. Marc Vibbert, also, as Michael just alluded to, co-host of the Hold On Maneuver, a Star Wars podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good.
Coach Beard impersonator?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I basically, did like a sneak attack on Mike by when we covered
Really
season.
sneaky.
Well, yeah, it wasn't very sneaky at all. But like when we did season 3 of Mandalorian on Holdo, pretty much every guest that season was someone from the Lasso cast, Coach Beard's Book Club, Peanut Butter and Biscuits, Richmond Till We Die. I pretty much got all of Ted Lasso's life. So I pretty much got all of like the Ted Lasso podcasts that I had listened to or interact with in some way to come on that. And then we also, this is where Bonnie comes into the picture as well too, which will be a nice segue to her after me, is that we did this huge Ted Lasso Star Wars episode back in June of last year, which again had all of those Ted Lasso podcasters, as well as just like people that have like different Ted Lasso related content accounts. So like
It was like 612 people. It was
we had to do like 3 different parts to it because of how many people you can have in StreamYard. So
it was part teams, part StreamYard.
Yeah.
Man.
Part
it was
pre-recorded.
Yeah, it was fun though. But
All crazy.
From that, I'll let you segue over to last but not least.
Yes. Well, you had pretty much assembled the Ted Lasso Avengers all together. And one of the best Avengers of all time is the voiceover superhero, Bonnie Marie Williams, one of the greatest to ever touch a microphone. Bonnie, how are you doing today?
Well,
Thank you for that intro. Can you do that every time I step into this booth for work? Because I would never feel sad ever again.
Just
Well,
automatic
hi.
face when you open the door.
Well,
I was gonna
hi.
say, I'll shrink down to Ant-Man size and I'll be on your shoulder every
Okay.
time you need me. I'll be there to intro you.
I've got space for you in here, so that would be great. Well, thank you.
Yes.
I was gonna do a terrible joke and say you're not supposed to touch other people's microphones, but I can touch mine, and that's okay. I'm here because Mark asked me to be. It's like, do you want to do this? I said, okay. So I guess I'm like the Rebecca of the group, but like her mini me, if you will, because she's a giant and in the best way possible. And I am not, but that's okay. As you can tell, this is like way pointed down. I can't like tiptoes. But I thought it sounded fun. And I said, okay, like why not do something fun and creative? And it's been really cool to hang out with these guys and try to keep them out of trouble where we can. Mike's been a little
I'm the wild card.
he is, but
You
that's
never know where I'm coming from.
mm-hmm.
He's
That's
here,
it.
he's there, he's every effing where.
Oh my gosh, is he outside?
Probably.
Well,
That's actually a
don't have
set
to be-
behind him.
I was gonna say you don't have to be a giant because your voice is giant. The most fantastic voice on this podcast, I will say, is gonna be Bonnie Marie Williams. But
I can concede
There-
that. Yeah,
I'll take it. Thank you.
Mark put together a fantastic trailer for this podcast. So I want to play that right now in case anyone is introduced to this podcast for the first time. If you want to know what it's all about, let's see this fantastic trailer, Mark.
Well, before I hit play on that, I'm not going to take full credit for it because the three of us collaborated on what we wanted to be in it, and before I play it, I want Bonnie really quick to explain who is Ted on it, because that was
maybe you should do it after.
yeah
We'll
you
do
know
it
what?
after.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
I'll
do it.
be here.
Yeah. So here you go.
Howdy, folks. This is Ted Lasso, your favorite optimistic American football coach turned English football coach. And welcome to the Richmond Way, a Ted Lasso Rewatch podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why in the world is Ted doing a podcast about his own show? Well, let me tell you, friends. It's because I believe in spreading positivity, joy, and the power of a good old rewatch. Now, each show, we're going to dive back into the heartwarming world of AFC Richmond, revisit every single episode of this incredible series. From the moment I set foot on that English pitch to the glorious triumphs and the occasional setbacks, we'll be reliving it all. Now, this podcast isn't just about my friends Bonnie, Mike, and Mark rambling on and on. Oh, no. We want to hear from all of you. We want your thoughts, your feelings, your favorite moments. This is a team effort, my friends. So whether you're a die-hard football fan, a newcomer to the show, or just somebody looking for a good old-fashioned laugh, we got a spot for you on the Richmond Way. So grab your biscuits, put on your AFC Richmond scarf, and let's embark on this journey together. Because remember, folks, there's always something to be learned, something to be shared, and, well, something to smile about. And here at the Richmond Way Ted Lasso Rewatch podcast, I believe we're going to find it. So until next time, folks, be curious, not judgmental, and keep rewatching. This is Ted Lasso signing off. As the man once said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Woo!
Yeah.
Isn't that great? So, just another example of the power of the human voice. AI and a robot can't do that. That is my friend Joe Gaudette, who is one of the most talented and kindest and just one of the most versatile voice actors I've ever known and I've ever worked with. And he's so cool. Joe Gaudette VO, you've heard him everywhere, you've seen him everywhere, but he's the best. So thanks, Joe. I think it's just some of the best podcast intro VO I've ever heard. And he did that for us. So very cool.
Indeed.
Yeah, I love that you told us that when he did that, he thought it sounded really bad. And then like anybody that I kind of gave a preview of it to, like just when it was like the audio just by itself without any music or anything, was like, did you, like, some people did think that it was AI, and I was like, no, we wouldn't do that. I don't want to take jobs away from people.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Yeah, keep you employed. But yeah, and then I was like, and then someone was like, did you get Jason Sudeikis? I was like,
Yes.
I am flattered that you think that I have some kind of leeway to get Jason Sudeikis to do it, but no, Joe is really awesome and did it for us, and it sounds awesome. Like,
Way to go, Joe.
And he's very humble too, thinking that sounded like crap.
yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, then we licensed that music, which is Marcus Mufford-esque, but not. And then
But not.
yeah, and then like Mike and I took passes at that script for it as well. That's what it was. So
Speaking of Mike, did I see that you're a time traveling sandwich enthusiast? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very true.
What is that? Where did that come from? You must elaborate. I request elaboration, sir, please.
We needed some statistics. I picked Sandwich Enthusiast. I did pick Royal Rumble winner, and Mark chose Time Traveler instead.
well, it needed to be like a certain length so that it like fit like in like this thing. So I was like, what else is?
If
is
I could
funny?
travel through time, I'd probably go find sandwiches throughout time. I'm not gonna lie.
That's
Like,
not
Go back
a
to the
bad
creation,
choice.
find the Earl of Sandwich, see what he was
Yes.
up to.
There you go. Bonnie's was easy. 'Cause the 4 words for that, I was like, that's easy. Mine was easy too. So
Yes.
Mike over here being the troublemaker again.
again being the wild card. So
Mhm.
you know
Yeah,
what?
so-
That's what it could have been. Instead of time traveler, it could have been wild card. So,
Mm.
We pay to have that re-edited.
And that
Or you
fits
That'll be
Either,
season
you
2.
yeah.
Yep,
that
for
fits the
season 2 credit.
soccer football theme, the wild card, red card,
Yeah.
wild
Yellow
card.
card.
I don't know
Uno
the
card.
rules, but
It's more of an
I
Uno
think that-
thing.
Reverse
Yeah.
Uno.
Target
yes.
red card. Anyways, yeah.
I think you have assembled, like I said, the Avengers of Ted Lasso. I think this is a nice little ensemble that you have assembled here. Everyone has their own strengths and what they bring to it. I wanted to kind of get the reason why. We got kind of the what and the who, but I wanted to get kind of the why of Ted Lasso specifically, because you three have intersecting interests on a lot of things. But what was it about Ted Lasso specifically that drew you to say, okay, I want to rewatch this. I want to talk about it. I want to put something out into the world involving Ted Lasso. I wanted to ask the Coach Beard stunt double first. What was it about Ted Lasso specifically that drew you in?
So like for me, I really like latched onto a lot of the two main things that I latched onto in the show were it really pushing forward like kindness towards like other human beings in that, and as well as it's highlighting mental health in the show too. So like those two things themselves were like what brought me in initially, and then I remember you, Vactor, were actually the reason why I started watching it initially, though, too. Like, before I had heard anything about it, because you sent me a clip from it, which
I did?
you and I both, yeah, because you and I both share a love of our favorite movie of all time being Back to the Future. And the clip you sent me, speaking of Coach Beard, was Coach Beard to Ted Lasso, and he's like, Ronald Reagan, the actor. And I was like, oh, I have to watch this show now. So if you had not sent me that, I don't know like when I would have ended up watching it finally, but that's what like got me to all right, jump in and start watching it. But yeah, that especially like the past year or so too, the show has helped me out a lot too. If not a lot of times hitting me harder than maybe it would have with some of the stuff that happens in season 3. I don't want to spoil some stuff if people haven't watched it yet. Our
Ted
show
shaves
is
his mustache.
yeah.
There.
Our show is going to be a rewatch one, so there's going to be times like when we were talking about it that we might bring something up that's like in season 2 or season 3. We're going to try to be better about
any rules. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll try to be good about like just before we say that to be like, if you haven't watched yet, if this is your not rewatch, if this is your first watch, skip ahead a little bit here. But yeah, That
Pause
that
and come
was
back.
yeah, that was purely like to the lowest degree. That's why I got into it, was because kindness and mental health. So
Gotcha. And Bonnie, besides Mark asking you, were you watching Ted Lasso before that, or was Mark the catalyst to say, "Hey, this is a great show. You got to watch this"?
So I only started watching it about a year ago when I was in Seattle and I was at my friend's place, and she's been trying to get me to watch it for a very long time. And a bunch of people are talking about it. And sometimes I am really late to the game when it comes to watching a TV show. I'm really bad about it, and then finally, like, something will grab me or I'll sit down and I'll have the time. Like, I was late to Mad Men, and it became one of my favorite shows ever because I took off work for 2 weeks, and I sat and binged it, and I cried when it was over. It was great. But with Ted Lasso, my friend Jen was like, "You need to watch it, you need to watch it." And finally, I was in her house visiting, and she said, "Okay, you're here in my house. Sit down. We're watching it. Log into your Apple TV." I said, "Okay." And then we did. And I thought, like, okay, good first episode. We'll see. And then I came home from that trip and I was watching it while I was working and doing stuff because I thought, oh, you can have it on in the background and be okay. You really can't. So this is a good opportunity to sit and actually watch it and be present and take notes for things to talk about and to rewatch it from a different perspective now and to go like, okay, now I'm going to sit and actually watch this, knowing where the characters go, watching it for those themes and to see how I feel about it now a year later. And like, how does it affect me now? Like, Mark, how does it affect me now more a year later than it did when I was going through some of those same things or when I was experiencing that and watching it a year ago? So my story, I don't think is quite as interesting besides my friend Jen saying, sit down and watch it, but more lovingly and kind. So
Yes. I like that because I do that myself for my own podcast. If I'm not watching something to review it, to watch it for, to talk about it, most of the time stuff is on in the background. My son is going crazy and things are happening. But if I'm specifically going to talk about it, I make the time to focus on it and to be intent with it. So I think that's interesting that that's happening with you. And Mike, what was it that hooked you so much that you surpassed the Coach Beard stunt double, and it just kind of, what hooked you about Ted Lasso, I guess? What kind of got its hook into you?
Well, for one thing, we only pay for one streaming service at a time, so we ran out of things to watch. No. Yeah, Mark got me into it. I think we had an episode where we had to talk about Ted Lasso and something. So I was like, I gotta watch something so I understand it. And then I saw Bill Lawrence had been worked on it. I was like, well, I generally like his work from all the way back to Spin City, Clone High, Scrubs. I was like, oh, he's made me cry in things, so maybe we'll have some fun here. And then the show was just different than what was on at the time. There was no, I wouldn't say no show like it, but it was just a different vibe for what was going on both in the world and like in the streaming world. Like I think Stranger Things was the most popular thing at the time. So I was into that. No radar on Ted Lasso. I had no clue what it was until I got stuff from Mark and I was like, okay, that's a funny meme, but I don't know what the show is. Then I watched it. Like I sat down with my wife to watch it, and she has this habit of watching it without me when I fall asleep. Not that I fell asleep during the show. It's just I'm going to bed now, and she just kept watching it. So I had to watch it by myself. Prefer it that way, because then I can do my thing with it instead of It's I don't know. It's just a whole process. I watched it all the way through by myself, and I was like, I got to watch it with her because I know she'll have a different opinion, and I know she doesn't pay attention when she watches things. So now, like, we're gonna watch it together, and we're gonna suss out what we both think. And then after that, I was like, okay, I got to watch it again because there's stuff I'm missing. And it was every time I watched it, I was like, this is really easy to watch. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just it keeps your attention, even though I know what's coming, I know what's happening. It's still good. And I was like, that's something I want to talk about. Like that's something I can talk about in both a positive and a negative and critical way, not just shitting on it, not just
Right.
being overjoyed by it, which you can only do that so much in a review before it's like, okay, I got to move on to something else because this is taking up too much time. Whereas this doesn't feel like that, and it felt like we can do more long form stuff with it. Plus, it's just a good
I can relate. Yes, I can relate to that too. The watching it once by myself and then watching it with my wife. A lot of times, sleep schedules don't align, and I'm watching my son sometimes. She's watching him sometimes, and
Yep.
so I've watched things multiple times before where it was like, oh, she fell asleep. I want to rewatch it again, and I want to get her reaction too, because
Right.
that's what a lot of times when I'm watching stuff, I like to, or I should say, when I'm rewatching things, I like to experience it through my friends or family that I'm with, and say, "Oh yeah, what was their experience with it?" And so I've always on the lookout for shows or movies that I can have that journey with family and friends with. Mark, I wanted to ask, what do you want to accomplish with the Richmond Way when it's, when someone goes to listen to it, or let's say, hey, I have this many Ted Lasso podcasts that I can choose from. What is it that you want the Richmond Way to be, or to stand out to them and say, hey, this is the reason why you should be listening to the Richmond Way?
So kind of like what I said with like one of the reasons why I wanted to like watch the show, or like why I ended up latching onto it, was a lot of like its reasons, or how it like focuses on different aspects of mental health. And I think between like myself, Bonnie, and Mike, we have like our own 3 different kind of ways that we'd come at like our own like mental health like issues, or like how we see that with like in the show, or
Just
how
push
we
that
can
shit down. Just
yeah, see, I'm like 3 different ways, like, and how we can contextualize and kind of empathize with like what's going on with some of the characters in the show. So kind of bringing that like within to a rewatch. And as far as I know, there's not any rewatch Ted Lasso podcast yet, just because it only just like maybe
if there
ended,
is,
or
we don't know about them, and
yeah.
neither do you. Just watch us.
Yeah, just the Richmond Way, a Ted Lasso rewatch podcast. But yeah, I mean, at least for me, from my perspective, that's what I want to like bring to like my portion of it, is really trying to highlight a lot of the like the different mental health struggles within the show. Like we've recorded, so we did a bonus episode back in December where we talked about Hannah Waddingham's holiday special that she did. Mike loves Christmas music. That was his. He loved it so much. If you want to hear Mike sing some Christmas carols, go back and listen to that, or watch it. You can watch that episode and you hear Mike sing.
I belt him out.
Yeah, I mean,
I sing to the rafters.
If you think Hannah Waddingham's a good singer, wait until you hear Mike in that episode. You'll be like, I don't know, maybe Mike should have had this Christmas special instead of Hannah Waddingham. I don't know. But then we also earlier did a episode about like the origins of Ted Lasso 2, which was like the NBC Sports shorts. And when we did that, I actually found out that was the first time that Bonnie and Mike had seen those two, so that was cool to kind of introduce those shorts to them. And then we have just, as of yesterday of us doing this right now, we did the pilot rewatch episode, and then so that's what we have in the cans so far. And then we'll be doing the second episode here. Our plan is to do like every other week or so, and try to get a little bit ahead of it in case like any of us have like, scheduling issues and whatnot, whatever it may be. But that's
a 4-year-old who protests bedtime.
Yeah. Or a successful voiceover career. But remind me after you've asked them questions to share the, maybe not that fun of a story, but how I ended up finding Bonnie. But
yikes.
You can now segue. I'll just Bonnie also knows my friend Chris. So
how'd you find Chris?
He hired me to be his audio assistant for the NFL, and like the thing with that is like us doing that made the enhanced audio Diamond Dogs, which is this is Sylvie, my dog, and it's my Ted Lasso thing. So because of that, he had told me, he's like, oh, I have a friend that loves Ted Lasso, and that ended up being Bonnie. So that's how I ended up asking her to be on that Holdo episode, and then here we are now.
Here we are now. And I talk to you more than I talk to Chris.
Also, fun fact: Chris has not watched Ted Lasso beyond maybe the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
What? He hasn't even finished the first episode?
Sounds like you
Chris,
need a new
what are you
friend.
doing? Hey. Well, Chris,
The
I think
NFL
you
season's over, so
yeah. He's got
I'm not
plenty
here to
of
shame
time.
Chris, though.
Chris, you gotta watch Ted Lasso, and then you gotta watch and listen to the Richmond Way as these wonderful people recap and rewatch and give their thoughts and analysis. I did want to ask, is it going to be so it's a bi-weekly release schedule, or you're just recording them up until a certain point? How is the format of the podcast going to be?
Yeah, I think that's how it'll end up being, is that it'll be like a
Bi-week?
bi-weekly release schedule for us, just to give us like time in between, and that way we're not like done by the end of the year.
it allows me to rewatch it like 7 more times.
Yeah.
To get preparation for the episodes.
Mike will have
Hey.
rewatched Ted Lasso 20 times by the time we finish.
Most
this
likely.
podcast.
Crazy.
I have long
for
lunch
Mike.
breaks at work, so
It's just for Mike. That's the only reason.
I secretly pay them. They just won't admit it.
My
Okay.
check still hasn't arrived, by the way.
It's because I was not happy with your performance.
Well, first time for everything, I guess.
We also do
Mark-
plan on having like some crew members and cast members from the show to interview from time to time
Nice.
too. So
Okay, perfect. And then are you going to take breaks in between the seasons, or are you just going straight through all 3?
Bonnie, Mike,
We
Yes.
might.
maybe
Okay.
that's where those
Something's
maybe that's where
life
those interview episodes will be.
Gotcha.
I mean, we already took like a hiatus before we even started
That's true.
because of the writer's strike. So we never
And-
know what's going to happen.
And
Yeah, the writer's strike and then
And the
and then
actors, yeah.
SAG. Yeah,
All the
Yeah.
strikes happened.
all the strikes. Yeah, but for a good cause. So
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Excellent.
we don't have that planned out 100% yet. So we'll see
Much
where
like-
life takes us.
Much like Ted.
Well, I think this is interesting because the show is complete and you're not doing like a weekly, recap or review as the show's coming out, which you're doing on Holdo with each Star Wars show that's been coming out. So this is going to be an interesting journey to go through with all of you on the Richmond Way. And I hope everyone that is watching or listening to this right now, this has kind of piqued your interest and curiosity, and you're going to give the Richmond Way a chance. So I would love to end this introduction and this Ted Lasso. I'm not going to say an introduction for the first time, but I would love to end this with Bonnie Marie Williams' voice. So I must ask for the last question to be for Bonnie. So, what do you think?
Oh,
What do
God.
you think?
What are you gonna ask me? Okay.
What do you think this when you signed up for this? I know, like you said, it was specifically because Mark asked you. Maybe you didn't do any
I'm just a
thinking
bonus.
beyond that. Maybe. But do you have anything in your mind of what this journey is going to be like for you? What is the time that you're going to spend with these gentlemen? Many hours that you're going to spend of your life that you can never get back. What I guess what do you
really selling it? Really selling it.
You want us to leave
What
the
do you-
room?
what are you looking forward to, or what do you hope to get out of this journey of this Rewatch podcast?
Yeah. So I want to use this as I don't want to use this, but I think the discussions that we're going to have, because to rewatch, this is something new for me, is being a part of something like this. And I think the discussions of the themes and what's happening in the show and what each of us brings to it is going to be very interesting. And I think something that can make other people feel less alone. So when there's characters on a TV show going through something that you've been through or you haven't been through yet, or actually when you've gone through it and you see somebody else going through it, it's that, oh, it's not just me. It makes you feel a little less alone. And even though there are so many people in this world, so many of us are so isolated, and that ties into mental health. And I think us, even though we're all across the country, the three of us here, and we're in different time zones, it's an opportunity to hang out for that hour, hour and a half and go, oh, this is an area that I bond with you on. This is an area that I bond with you. And this is really cool, where it's like, I might be here by myself recording, but I've got a friend, 2 hours away or 3 hours away who understands what I'm going through. And I think fostering that connection and positivity and adding more of that to the world is going to be really important. And I think that's something that the show did too. So if we can even be a small part of that and echo those themes, that's just going to add more good to the world. And we need that right now. So that is my long-winded answer.
Yes.
Oh, that was perfect. Bonnie, I love all of the sentiments and all of the emotion that I think this podcast is going to bring out. And I'm looking forward to hearing all of your thoughts on Ted Lasso over the course of this journey that the Richmond Way is going to be. So if you love someone who looks like Coach Beard, if you love a fantastic voice actor, or if you love a sandwich enthusiast, wild card, I think there's something for everybody here on the Richmond Way podcast. So I'd like to thank everyone here for joining me for this wonderful introduction. I'd like to thank you for watching or listening, and please join us again for the Richmond Way.
We need to thank you for being here.
Oh,
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations, you just met some cool people.
So until next time, folks, be curious, not judgmental, and keep rewatching. This is Ted Lasso signing off. As the man once said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.